3.0 V6 AJ30. Manual transmission enthusiasts who imagine themselves driving an XF with an economical engine will be disappointed. Since the start of production in 2008, these cars have been produced with engines of 6 and 8 cylinders and only with automatic transmission with 6 gears. 4 cylinders can be found under the hood of only restyled versions. In the Jaguar XF, the most common 3-liter V6 engines are naturally aspirated, atmospheric. Their reliability has been tested by time. In such engines there are 2 timing chains, couplings, phase shifters, are installed at the ends of all 4 camshafts, and the valve drive is without hydraulic compensators. Despite the high ratings of this engine, it also suffers from noticeable shortcomings. First of all, it consumes a lot of fuel. In addition, the engine suffers from problems with the cooling system T. Often this part simply falls apart. The average price for a new spare part is almost $130. There is an opinion that you can increase the service life of the pipe by installing a new expansion tank cap every year. Sticking of its valve leads to an increase in pressure in the entire cooling system. The original cover will cost about $11. The result of excess pressure, in addition, is a burst expansion tank and a weak radiator. The water pump seals may leak. It happens that XF engines show signs of a lean mixture. In these cases, first of all, you should check the intake gaskets and fuel injector seals. 4.2 V8, AJ34 AJ34S. For 1 year, the XF model was equipped with 4.2-liter V8 engines. Moreover, in 2 versions, with and without supercharging, atmospheric and compressor. These engines have a lot in common with the 3.0 V6. Even problems: cooling system, air leaks, high fuel consumption. 3.0 V6 Supercharged, AJ126. In 2009, the XF began to be equipped with a 5-liter V8 engine, AJ133S. The 3.0 V6 appeared a little later, but is in many ways identical to its 5-liter older brother. We're talking about almost complete similarity of attachments and cylinder blocks. And the reason for the similarity is that rational Englishmen decided to save money. One of the engineers came up with the idea of drowning out the 2 rear cylinders of the V8 cylinder head. The idea was brought to life, which resulted in an original 6-cylinder engine with a camber angle of 90 degrees and 6 main journals on an excessively long crankshaft. How feasible is this for such a layout is the third question. But it is precisely this approach that allows the Roots volumetric cam supercharger and cooling system to be freely placed in the camber of the engine. Both of these motors are equipped with cast iron liners and, in fact, everything about them is thought out to the smallest detail. In general, if we talk about the reliability of the V6 and V8 compressor engines for the XF, then you need to try very hard to overheat these compressor engines or get cylinder scuffing. The main thing is to fill the tank with AI98 gasoline, diesel 2.7 or 3.0 TDV6, AJD. The most popular among XF engines are the 2.7 and 3.0-liter V6 diesel engines with 2 turbines from Peugeot/Citroën. Initially, a 2.7-liter engine was installed, and in the spring of 2010 it was replaced by a 3-liter one. Both options are economical, and the performance of the most powerful of this series, 275 horsepower, is comparable to a compressor V6 on gasoline. However, not everything is so smooth. Some engines have problems with oil pressure. When choosing a Jaguar XF, listen to the operation of the hydraulic compensators. If you can clearly hear a slurping sound, leave the car to the owner. If you have the opportunity to check the oil pressure while inspecting your Jaguar XF, be sure to take advantage of it. At idle speed it should be at least 1.2 bar. If the figure is less than this number, there is a risk of crankshaft failure. The year of manufacture of the diesel XF plays an important role. Since 2010, a modernized oil pump has been installed on 6-cylinder diesel engines. It features increased pressure and no problems with oil leaks. In this regard, models from 2010, preferable and reliable, owners of the XF with TDV6 will do well to know that it is recommended to clean radiators at least once a year. And it's better to forget about filling a A5/B5 economy class oil, diesel 2.2, E4D. The end of summer 2011 was marked by restyling for the XF models. As a result, a 2.2-liter turbodiesel engine appeared in the engine compartment. And it was again a Frenchman, and a rather distinguished and famous one. Jaguar installed 2.2 HDI, used in the production of some Peugeot, Citroën, and Ford models. True, with a longitudinal arrangement, 2.0 Ecoboost, AJ200. Another 4, which has gained considerable popularity, is a separate line. Restyled XF in 2012 acquired a gasoline engine with 4 cylinders. Under the hood of these Jaguar models appeared Mazda's development, codenamed 2.0 Ecoboost. And, of course, Jaguar did not fail to be original. On the XF, these engines are longitudinally mounted. This type of engine gained a lot of fans, but did not live up to their expectations. It all turned out like a bearded joke about how Jaguar owners meet in the technical center in the morning. The turbocharged Ecoboost overheated when driving in a sporty style, the injection failed, and such a strange defect as LSPI was observed. The fuel mixture ignited before the scheduled time. Maybe the 0 watts minus 20 category oil failed, or maybe the gas station sold the gasoline according to fuel cards was of poor quality. In general, the cause of the phenomenon remains unclear. In addition, in all engines in the third cylinder, the piston threw away the jumpers between the rings. In 2014, the company said the problem had been resolved. I want to believe the D2.0 Ecoboost has a steel intake manifold. This entails the layering of scale and, less commonly, the breaking off of grains of metal. They naturally get into the turbine rotor, causing its rapid wear. Also, in the hot part of the turbine, the bypass valve axis begins to walk, which reduces the compressor power. The current distribution block with fuses, CJB block, is not very well located next to the right front door pillar. Therefore, there is a possibility of water getting in and accumulating on the washer reservoir wires. This can cause the fan and heating system for windows, seats, etc. to turn off. During diagnostics, it will be revealed that there is no connection with the climate control unit. First of all, you should pay attention to the topmost element, chip, of the block, which is responsible for the operation of the climate control. We can say with almost 100% certainty that it will be oxidized, with water remaining. In most cases, simply drying the chip is enough. After restyling, a very sensitive fuse box was installed on the XF model. Voltage surges can cause malfunctions in its operation. This applies to remote control after the battery is turned off. The car will simply ignore the commands. Reflashing helps. If this is not done or the operation is unsuccessful, you should expect that the car will not respond to the key. The reason is that the VIN code and other anti-theft data will be deleted from the memory of the CJB block. As a result, the next time you replace the battery, the starter will not turn. In such cases, the manufacturer recommends completely replacing the CJB block, price $700, and the AJB block, price $1,100. But domestic craftsmen already know the reason for the failure of the XF fuse box. They successfully bring him back to life using a programmer. After which you can disconnect the battery without fear, but you should control the possibility of water entering again. There is no such thing as a manual Jaguar XF. These models were equipped with a 6 HP 26 transmission until 2010, and later with a 6 HP 28. In 2012, XF received 8 HP 45 and 8 HP 70 with 8 gears. Such transmissions require excellent cooling of ATF fluids, and this moment is poorly developed in Jaguar. The naturally aspirated V6 has a modestly sized heat exchanger that cools Basque antifreeze. And diesel and compressor V6 engines are equipped with an additional radiator. With this scheme, the antifreeze is cooled in the main radiator, then partially pumped into the auxiliary one, and only then enters the transmission heat exchanger. The second radiator requires annual cleaning. If a layer of dirt is too thick, it is sometimes easier to replace it. The main enemies of normal operation of the automatic transmission on the XF are overheating and a constantly sliding gas turbine engine. It is not recommended to squeeze the maximum out of the engine if the radiator has not been checked and cleaned for a long time. When constantly driving at high speeds, frequent ATF replacement is required. Particular attention should be paid to the seals between the valve body and the housing. Despite the fact that 8 horsepower transmissions are faster and more reliable than their predecessors, their proper cooling should also be the subject of close attention. Pre-styling all-wheel drive Jaguar XFs are found only in models with a supercharged V6 engine. Power is transferred to the front wheels by a clutch and an oil bath. The mechanism is similar to the X-drive chain-driven automatic transmission clutches found in BMWs. Only the XF uses a gear drive. The clutch oil must be changed after every 50,000 kilometers. Then it will work fine. But you shouldn't get carried away with drifting and other elements of street racing. Otherwise, the clutch will quickly fail, the clutch's unlocking mechanism will wear out. The Jaguar XF windshield is fully heated. Sometimes the system turns off on the passenger or driver side. The problem could be either the fuses or the relay. Sometimes the contacts at the bottom of the glass may oxidize. Headlights can give an approximate indication of the vehicle's mileage. Including the Jaguar XF, the polycarbonate surface of the glass becomes cloudy over time, and microcracks appear around the perimeter that cannot be polished. The headlights become dim, and blind spots appear on the chrome of the lens hood. Therefore, do not neglect to carefully inspect the headlights of a used car. There is a sense of English thoroughness in the XF's interior trim. The interior is made of high quality, pleasing to the eye materials. An aluminum plate is set into the front panel across its entire width. Wood inserts that look like plastic are successfully combined with it. The British went a little overboard with the silver, the joints are visible here and there. However, the overall impression of the XF's interior will be positive, even in cars that have been driven for many years. There is a drawback to light-colored seat upholstery. It gets dirty over time and requires professional cleaning. The Jaguar XF's multimedia is not ideal and is significantly inferior to German systems. But there is an offer on the market from the geniuses from China, which even has an impressive vertical display, like the brainchild of Elon Musk. Surely everyone knows that in the Jaguar XF the puck floats out of the console after turning on the engine. But recently many car owners have been stuck in mode D, that is, the engine will turn off, but it will no longer be possible to start it. And only a mechanically engaged neutral for subsequent towing or a tow truck will help. The root of the problem is a power failure of the valve block oil channels of the valve body solenoid. You will have to remove the entire board and resolder the solenoid contacts. The front panel ventilation deflectors are automatically adjusted to operate immediately after the engine is started. But one day you will see that this did not happen. Don't be alarmed. The problem is not in the electronics, but in the wear of the connection between the motor and the body of the part. Couplings cost about $8. All XF body parts are galvanized in one layer. This is excellent protection against corrosion. But time shows that paint on used cars is increasingly falling off, and chips of galvanizing appear on the edges where dirt accumulates. This is an omission of factory car painters. Another problem is the accumulation of moisture behind the chrome molding of the trunk lid. In this place the water does not dry well, so the paint swells. If you have not yet encountered this problem, remove the molding and thoroughly treat the problem area with anti-corrosion liquid. Some Jaguar XF owners have complained about the power trunk turning off in winter. And all because the wires of the harness are torn, chafed by the sharp edge at the entrance. It would seem that cars of this class should be free from such a problem. But it does happen. Moisture accumulates in the spare wheel well. According to rumors, the manufacturer has identified as many as 6 reasons for this problem. These include seals for the rear lights, trunk, and ventilation system check valve grills located behind the bumper cheeks. The latter is most likely, which is why sealing is needed around the perimeter of these gratings. The humid English climate forced manufacturers to pay special attention to the issue of protecting the bottom from rust. But over the years of operation, corrosion still appears on the subframes and under the plastic panels of the bottom. Therefore, it would not be superfluous to treat this part of the body with an anti-corrosion liquid. Experience shows that cracks in brake hoses appear in large numbers after 10 years. If the hoses on your machine become covered with a network of wrinkles, change them immediately. The front suspension has double wishbones. The upper ones are supplied only with silent blocks already installed and are pressed in ball joint. But they practically do not require replacement. The lower arm has to be repaired. A silent block is provided for it separately and costs about $80. The lever itself is attached to the fist using a bushing with a plastic filling, and this part is not produced separately. An original lever sells for an average of $230. An analog, a high-quality analog, is produced by only one company, and the price of this substitute is slightly cheaper than the original. Service center technicians found a way to replace the bushing with a silent block, but the hole for it has to be bored. Therefore, the decision is controversial for risky car owners. Gambling Jaguar XF owners noted that the steering rack began to tap after 100,000 kilometers. However, without any consequences. But a leak may appear in the power steering pipes. It is recommended to check them periodically and monitor the fluid level in the power steering reservoir. And if you change the fluid more often, then the knocking will appear much later. The Jaguar XF has 2 rear suspension arms per wheel. The company itself does not produce silent blocks separately. But there are plenty of good and inexpensive analogs on the market. By the way, a pair of new rear control arms from the manufacturer will cost about $500. There are a lot of complaints about the rear gearbox of the Jaguar XF. There are such oil leaks that it tints the rear bumper. At the same time, there is only about a liter of oil in the gearbox. Cars manufactured before 2009 were often recalled for gearbox replacement. Moreover, they changed it along with the drive shaft and axle shafts due to misalignment of the drives. However, the oil still leaks. And here the problem is the tightness of the original seals. Plus, for some reason the manufacturer installed an almost miniature breather, which quickly clogs. As a result, we have an increase in pressure in its body under heavy loads, which pushes oil through weak seals.